Good day folks, my name is Sean and this is Air Photography. Today in this video we're going to be taking a look at Freewell gear's all-day pack for the DJI Air 2S. We're going to talk about if you should purchase this set, especially considering DJI, if you purchase the Fly More combo you already get a set of ND filters. Is it worthwhile picking up this extra set? I'm going to show you some demonstrations why the polarization built into these filters can be very important, and on top of that we're going to announce a giveaway. Freewell gear has graciously offered 3 sets of filters to 3 of my subscribers. So stay tuned for the end of the video for information on how to win a set. Now, just before we get going here, I just want to be absolutely clear. I'm not stating you should or should not buy these filters. When creating videos, I'm not trying to shove products down your throat and say, yes, buy these, buy these, buy these. I just like to present information, and that way you as a consumer can make a more informed decision. Now, especially if you are a brand new pilot, if you've just purchased a drone like the Air 2S, I wouldn't even worry about ND filters to get started with. These drones, these modern day drones, take incredible footage with or without filters. I would just focus on learning to fly and enjoying the flight. Purchasing things like ND filters can always come down the road when you're ready to expand your creativity. So the first thing we should discuss is whether you should pick up an ND filter set like this, considering when you purchase the Fly More combo, it already comes with a fairly complete set. The set that comes with the Fly More combo has an ND4, ND8, ND16, and ND32. And for the most part, that's enough for almost every situation. However, when we take a look at the Freewell set, it's more complete. We have an ND4, ND8, ND16, ND32, ND64, and we also have just a straight up CPL filter. We have the bonus of an ND1000 and an ND2000. And on top of that, all these ND filters have built-in polarizers. And we're going to talk about that here in a minute, why a polarizer can be very important, and not just for flying over top of water. With the DJI set, there is no ND64, and that can be important. On a very extremely bright day, sometimes you do need that ND64, especially since the Air 2S does not have a changeable aperture, which we can compensate. So that's one reason why you might want to consider the Freewell gear set, is because it is a complete set. You get everything you need to be creative and capture interesting content. So let's talk about why having polarized lenses can be very important for your drone videos. If you're new to all this, if you're not quite sure, basically polarizers cut down glare and reflection. It works the same way as a polarized pair of sunglasses. You know, when you put them on, you can see in water. It cuts the glare back so you can see clearly through. The problem is when you have really strong reflections and glare, the camera can't really pull out all the colors and saturation that it is capable of. If you are flying over water with a polarized filter, you can get deeper blues and color tones, both in the water and in the sky. Now, some of you might be thinking, well, I'm never going to be flying over water, so I have no need for a polarized filter. But that's not entirely true. Everything you're going to be filming with your drone, whether it's mountain ranges, rivers, lakes, trees, everything has some form of reflective surface. Obviously, some things are more reflective than others, but for example, let's take a look at this plant I filmed out in my backyard. You can see there, all the white area, that's reflected light. If we were to cut that glare out, the green tones in the plant would be much more vibrant. Now I'm just going to show you a quick example here using this box. This is another ND filter set for the GoPro Hero 9 Black. Freewell makes ND filters for almost every type of droning camera. If you notice on this box, there's a bit of a reflective surface there. So what I'm going to do here is we're going to record this box. I've got some lights above me here that are going to act as an artificial sun. And we're going to see what the effects are of polarization. We're going to film it without polarization, and then we're going to turn on some polarization and we'll see what the difference is. So right now here we are filming it and there's no polarization. You can see in the actual lens there's a bit of reflection. But as we turn on polarization, you can see that all goes away. And right away, everything looks a little bit more vibrant. So you can see what effect that polarization has. So what you should have noticed there is that this little piece of reflective material really affects the saturation of everything around it. If we play it back again here, pay attention to this area of the desk. As you can see, when we turn on polarization, the natural color of the desktop comes through. You see more detail and the color is more natural. So a little bit of reflection can affect your whole image. So just imagine flying over a canopy of trees. All those leaves are reflecting a little bit of light. If you can cut that glare out, you're going to get better saturation and more detail. So that's why having polarized filters can be very important. And lastly here, we get our 2 really dark ND filters, ND1000 and ND2000. Now those higher ND filters are not something you're going to be using to capture video. They're used for long exposure photography. That allows you to open up the shutter for a long period of time with limiting the amount of light that can come in so it's not overexposed, and you can get those kind of really dreamy shots. Here's an example here of a waterfall that was shot with an ND 1000 filter, I believe it was. And you can see how you kind of get that mistiness going through the water. Now that we've gone over everything, let's take a quick look at some footage here. If you're brand new to drones and ND filters, I'll kind of show you what the effect of an ND filter does. Basically, you need an ND filter in order to set your shutter speed low enough so you can get motion blur in your footage. Now, if you're new, you could be thinking to yourself, whoa, isn't that quite the opposite of what you want? You want your footage to be nice and crisp. And that's exactly right. You want nice, clear footage. However, when you have fast moving objects or things moving on the screen at a fast pace, you want a little bit of motion blur. Motion blur looks a little bit more pleasing to the eye, and I'll show you an example here in a minute. So I'll show you quickly how to install them here. Myself, I like to set the drone up on its end just like that there. And all you have to do is twist off that little metal piece at the end of the camera. Once it's off, you can just take your ND filter from Freewell and it just twists on. Now for this first clip here, this is without an ND filter, and I'm just going to be flying fast close to the ground. As you can see, the footage looks a little bit janky, a little bit stuttery, and even if we take a screenshot, you can see that everything is perfectly in focus. The foreground is in focus and the background off in the distance is in focus. And ideally what we want here is that foreground where the grass is really close and moving really fast across the screen. We want that to have a little bit of blur. So now I've installed an ND filter and I'm going to fly fast again across the ground. And this time you'll notice that the grass at the lower part of the screen is a little bit blurry. However, if you look off in the distance, everything is still perfectly in focus. We'll take a screenshot again and we'll just take a look at it. You can see how we have that blur there. And that's exactly what we want. Because that's moving fast across the screen, you want a little bit of a motion blur to it, but everything else in focus. Now let's just go ahead and we'll take a quick look at some footage shot with these ND filters installed. Now another thing to keep in mind with drones, you don't always need to have an ND filter. ND filters are generally used to allow you to capture motion blur. It blocks the light so you can set a lower shutter speed. If you're a person who flies really slow and cinematically, you're not going to get the effect of that ND filter and motion blur. However, if you're a person who does a lot of low, fast flying, especially over things like tree canopies, riverbeds, then definitely an ND filter will be beneficial. So that's basically it. That's the Freewell gear all-day set for the DJI Air 2S. Again, I'm not saying you should or shouldn't buy it. Just some information for you to help you make a decision whether it's worthwhile for you. I really like Freewell gear as a company. I own pretty well almost every set of ND filters they make, and I use them quite frequently. Now, as mentioned at the beginning of this video, Freewell gear is going to be giving away 3 sets of these filters to 3 of my subscribers. To enter the giveaway, it's actually very simple. First of all, obviously you have to be subscribed to my channel, and you also have to follow the Freewell gear Amazon page. I'll include a link to it down in the description of this video. Once you've followed their page, just come back to this video and make a comment. And in about a week's time, I'll just randomly pick 3 comments from down below, and Freewell gear will ship you off your filter set. This giveaway is available to everybody, as long as Freewell can ship to your address. Anyways, folks, I want to thank you for watching this video. Hopefully you got a little bit of value out of it. Give it a thumbs up if you did. It really does help the channel grow. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you're not subscribed already. Thanks a lot, and we'll see you in the next one.